Coach, you guys have had a pretty big couple of weeks, a really big week, honestly. But headlining that was Luke picking up pretty much every single award under the sun for the last week. What kind of indispensability does he provide to your squad?
Yeah, I think his attitude's been fantastic. I think that's been the biggest element of growth probably since I've joined the program. Very, very talented player, explosive qualities, but perhaps had a bit of an explosive temperament as well when I first met Luke. So that's been something where he's had to refine that and mature a little bit as well, which he has. But his work ethic defensively, his work ethic in transition, often as the first defender for us, it's a kind of sound a little ironic or counterintuitive that I'm complimenting one of our best attacking players for his defensive qualities as well. But he's infectious right now for all the right reasons, which is huge and needs to remain the fact. But yeah, I mean, his work ethic is what has led to a lot of his success, and quite honestly, led by example in terms of how we want that front three to sometimes press. Certainly, the aggressive intent as a first defender when it's his turn to get to the ball. That aspect of things has really laid the foundation for the team to win the ball back high. And then as a result, he gets more actions, more involvement, more possession closer to their goal. And that's exactly where we want him. So it was a good week for him for sure. But it's been a good 2 months for him in terms of pre-season leading up to now. He showed a lot of these qualities in the spring as well. He showed the type of performance that we've seen over the last week at Marshall, for example, and on a number of other occasions last season as to why he led to, a first team all-conference selection. But we need him to continue to take that responsibility and that accountability to be the leader, and continue to show how I want it done, how we want the tactics to be implemented. And as long as he can continue to do that and control his emotion and control his temperament, not get frustrated on a night like Loyola where, we don't quite get the goal and, the game continues to be prolonged at 0-0. Those are the moments where, those little types of adversities are things that he'll continue to be challenged with and be faced with and have to show that he has the capability to, get through those moments and be the difference on the night and potentially be the goal scorer in the 90th minute if necessary.
That temperament, I mean, those intangibles, it's not like tactics, it's not like technique, that's something that kind of comes with experience. How much of that was just him staying in the program, figuring his game out, and how much of that was kind of coaching?
I think it's been a message to a lot of the players. Listen, there's a very delicate balance and relationship with emotion within our sport. But the bottom line is emotion cannot impact effort for this program and for this team. And they have to find a way to overcome those disappointments, overcome those frustrations. I think specifically Luke had an incredible opportunity after about 16 minutes where, the goalkeepers made a miraculous save. And I think everyone's still scratching their head as to how we didn't go 1-0 up. I don't know that Luke did anything wrong in that moment. But you could tell that potentially sat with him for a little bit. And as the game went on, again, it's difficult not to get frustrated. It's difficult not to feel like we should be winning the game when we're not. So it's something that's continually talked about with the group right now. And it was a huge message throughout this week, particularly yesterday at training where I think the players have a very good understanding now tactically of what it is we're trying to do, how we're trying to play, the areas that we're trying to press and win the ball back and when. As well as obviously with the ball. I think we've been very dynamic with the ball. Our possession stats have gone up 12% since last spring. So, we're averaging 66% possession so far this season. So the guys know what it is we're supposed to be doing. The challenge and the question becomes, can they do it under pressure? And that pressure comes in very, very many shapes and forms. It can be the pressure of the fact that it's number 3 Pittsburgh, or the pressure of the fact that it's back-to-back ranked opponents after a big win against Pittsburgh, or that it's 0-0 at halftime against Loyola Maryland. So every game has its adversities and its challenges, and that's the growth and that's the mindset that we're trying to echo to the players in terms of when it does get difficult. That's not the time to go away from what we've done well and what we're doing well. It's the time to double down and really heighten that focus on exactly what we're trying to implement tactically.
So going back to that Loyola game, like you said, Luke had that one chance where it's like, how did you guys not go 1-0 up? There was another one not too long before that, I believe, off a free kick or maybe a corner where Bjarne headed it in and the goalie made an incredible save. When you're coming off of back-to-back ranked matches and then you have a game like that where it's a frustrating 0-0 draw, what's the mentality in the locker room after that? How do you kind of, respond to that?
Yeah, I think we've had to make sure we've kept things in perspective. We're 3-0-1 right now. We're undefeated. There's not a single person in this program, and honestly, not a single team in the country, looking at who we've played over those 4 games, that wouldn't have been very, very content and very, very happy with those results and that return. So again, our intent is to focus on our performances. So we have to keep in mind that we're a marginal penalty decision on Adam Birchall, or a marginal save or miraculous moment from them defensively or from their goalkeeper from winning that game, and that a matter of inches could have easily been the difference as to us winning the game. That minor moment, that small detail, as important as it is, shouldn't be a true reflection of what happened for 90 minutes or 110 minutes. And that's where we've continued to try and stay very consistent with how we analyze the performance, what it is we take away from, quite honestly, these first 4 games. And I think, again, going back to what the messaging was yesterday, I think it was an opportunity for reflection on, okay, what have we done over 4 games? What are we seeing statistically that we really like, that shows that this program is trending very, very positively, before we just focus on how we didn't score against Loyola. I think you're going to have days like that, and again, statistically, that it would indicate that we should have probably scored 2.15 goals against Loyola based on what we did. But then there's other games where we've outperformed that algorithm and scored more than we should on the day. So we gave them some stats and some things that we thought we've been doing very, very well, and also kept things in context that, if you're looking at our average number of shots and shots on goal, we're about par for the course in terms of how many goals we have scored this season. We just didn't happen to get one in the last 110 minutes against Loyola. So I hope they, have got that balance of feeling like there's still more to come, feeling like there's still more growth for this team, have a little bit of a cutting edge and a burning desire to really take it out on Ohio State, quite honestly, while still understanding that, Monday's result shouldn't feel like a loss. It can be frustrating, and it can give us a little prompt in the right direction, we hope. But it certainly shouldn't be a point in the season where things spiral negatively, because we've obviously had a great start to the season. But it is just a start, and we need to make sure we continue to take momentum and continue to trend in the right fashion. And yeah, no better way to do that than having a team like Ohio State, another household name, come into Morgantown during a gold rush, during what should be 2,000 plus fans, and an incredible night and an incredible atmosphere for our players. And we'll need that. We really will. I think we've had a tough stretch of 5 games in a short amount of time. We were a little bit the walking wounded right now, and again, that's pretty typical this time of season for most of men's soccer. So having that 12th man, having the maniacs out there, can make all the difference. So we're really hopeful for a huge crowd and a lot of energy to kind of rub off on the players going into tomorrow night's game.
Yeah, Coach, how about this Buckeye team? What are your thoughts on Ohio State? What you've seen from them? You mentioned it, another power conference opponent, and a challenging way to end this homestand. Yeah,
I think there's some similarities to what we faced against Penn State, and perhaps some similarities to what we just faced against Loyola, in the sense that they have some individual talent, no doubt. There's going to be some players we'll need to keep an eye on. I think they have the Big Ten Freshman of the Year, central midfielder that looks very, very good. Their attacking threat off the right is something that we'll need to keep an eye on. But I would say, an early observation has been they look a little unsettled as to what their best defensive lineup is. There's been changes in goal, changes in centre back positions. So we're gonna try and challenge that early, and I think that the great news so far going into the season is so far we feel like most of what we have to do is focus on ourselves. It's very much about, if we play to our potential, play with our identity with respect to Ohio State, it won't matter. We'll have enough to get ourselves over the line. We've obviously proved that in the Pitt game and the Penn State game. And again, it's about, okay, a good team becomes great because of its consistency and its ability to stay there with its effort. And again, excellence is a habit, and that's something that's reinforced to them. So we need to stay very, very consistent and very disciplined with our habits, which up to this point in the season have been very, very good. And I think we can get the job done tomorrow night.
Coach, I'm sure you've watched the Ohio State film. They've got two leading scorers, Lawrence Wooten, I'm probably butchering that name, and Xavier Green. What do you see about them? What makes them threatening, and what challenges are they going to bring to the back line?
Yeah, Lawrence is a fellow Englishman, I believe. I think he was with Cardiff City's academy and played a very, very good level in England, in the UK. So yeah, you can tell that he's a quality footballer, no doubt, and they're at their best when he's kind of the engine in the middle of the field. He has a bit of a license to get forward as well. So we'll have to remain watchful of him. We'll have to see, quite honestly, just exactly how they shape up in the center of the field in terms of best utilizing him, whether he plays a bit deeper and they show us a little bit of respect in that regard, or if he still has the freedom to join their attacks, and we'll have to be watchful of him in that regard. And then, yeah, Xavier Green off the left, a kid from New Zealand, that similarly looks like he's got good technique, good positive intent. And perhaps someone that statistically isn't highlighted there is the number 8 on the opposite wing, who looks very direct and dangerous on the dribble as well. So yeah, I mean, it's why, again, it's why we wanted to play these types of games. Their record so far this season may not reflect the true quality of what that program is, but Ohio State is a huge school, a huge athletic program, and within their men's soccer program, it should always be one that's very, very dangerous. And again, we wanted this game because expected it to be a tough game, expected it to be a good RPI game against a good Big Ten program, and yeah, we're getting exactly that. So we'll have to be very diligent with how we defend and respect what they'll bring and what their attacking threats will be. But I think we've done a good job of that up to this point in the season, to exert our dominance in possession and to be the team with the ball as much as possible, whilst nullifying their threats as quickly and as efficiently as we can in transition moments. So that's probably been the area of our game that I've been most pleased with through these first 4 games. So if we remain as focused as we've been in those areas, then hopefully we can nullify those threats as far away from our goal as possible.
Coach, at an individual level, obviously Luke got a lot of attention, but there are 11 men on the pitch, and you've played as many as 21 in a game. So who are some other individuals that have really impressed you so far early through the season?
Yeah, I think the back three has been excellent up to this point. Obviously, they've accumulated pretty much every minute of every game that we've played. So we've been very, very reliant on them, and they've done a fantastic job of allowing us to keep the game in advanced areas territorially for us. But even more pivotal than that in terms of that aspect of the game, who just kind of goes under the radar is Ryan Baer in central midfield. He just chews up ground. It's unbelievable. I think when we finished the game on Monday night and looked at the workload over the last week, he ran 52 kilometers over the period of those 3 games. So yeah, he's so valuable in that regard. You're not going to see him scoring the goals and dribbling and taking people on. I hope not anyway. But there are so many other intangibles that are so valuable to our performance. That just go under the radar. He's our Carolina Conte, as we're going to nickname him here. But those 4 in particular. But collectively, honestly, it's been the ability to bring Adam Birchall off the bench, or Tony Pineda off the bench, or Ciro off the bench. It's that impact and that ability to keep the energy high. And that's another aspect of things in terms of looking at our GPS data. we are accumulating more distance in a game than we were last season, because the players are fresher for longer, because we're able to have the rotation of depth that we have. So quite simply, if we are exerting more effort over the course of 90 minutes, it makes a huge difference in our sport. It really does. So we'll continue to rely on that depth, and we'll need to again tomorrow night, given that it's the 5th game of a 5-game stretch here in a very short amount of time.
Can I check that? Was that Carolina Conte?
Carolina Conte, N'Golo Conte, yeah, Chelsea's perhaps the best defensive midfielder in the world right now. Right. And again, there's so much of what he does for Chelsea and for France that Ryan does for us. And again, it took a while for someone like Conte to truly get noticed and valued for all of his defensive qualities and those intangibles. And again, Ryan kind of fits a very similar mold in that regard.
That's a fantastic nickname, by the way.
I can't claim it. I think we took it from the ESPN commentary.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it might. I think Nick Farrell might have something to do with that one. So you can give him credit for that.
I'll give him some props later today. Now, you guys obviously made the meteoric rise, I guess, from unranked to number 5 in the country. I don't think I've seen a rise like that in any sport. With so many foreign players, the rankings are probably an abstract concept where it's just a bunch of writers and coaches voting on who's the best team in the nation. Whereas, overseas, the point total really determines that.
Right.
Does that value really ring in the locker room, or are they really just focused on the next game?
I think you have to address it. I think, as you said, if you go from not having a number by your name to having one as high as that, you kind of have to address the elephant in the room. But we've reminded them of what got them there to this point. And it's still one game at a time. I've been in a fortunate position to, in my coaching career up to now, with my time at Chelsea, to have a very, very high number by my name. And that comes with a certain level of expectation. It comes with a certain additional burden that you have to carry. And we'll have to handle that. We'll have to manage that, because not only does it mean something for us, it means something for Ohio State when they're prepping for the number 5 team in the country. So, we saw that a little bit with Loyola coming here, knowing that, they were well aware of what we just achieved with the wins against Penn State and Pittsburgh, and we got their best effort. But the message before that game was, well, that's the only effort that we give. It is our best effort here at WVU, and it must remain that way. So we have to make sure that we stay, again, very, very consistent and very, very disciplined with our approach. Not let that carry too much weight. I think there's with respect to everyone that's acknowledging the program and recognizing the program for that early success, some of the congratulations are a little premature. I want to make sure that we're still getting these accolades in November, December, quite honestly. And that was always the message during my time at Charleston, was that the number that really counts is the one when this season is concluded, because that one stays with you for the next 8 months. So, you want to make sure that that's as high as possible. And we want to make sure that's higher than number 5. So there's still plenty of work to do. Again, I think the guys have heard that message, or are receptive to it. And I like where the focus of the group is right now in terms of, going into tomorrow night's game.
Similarly, how was their reaction to their first overtime game?
Yeah, again, a challenge that was inevitable at some point in the season, almost certainly. I'd have to think, almost all programs at some point go into overtime at least once in a regular season. So that was good that we lived that. And quite honestly, despite being the dominant team and feeling like there was only going to be one outcome in terms of who was going to win the game, that we did keep the clean sheet, that we did obviously come out of it unscathed in that regard. Because it does only take one chance. So, and a valuable experience. And I have to say that was something we highlighted with the players, that, when you get into overtime and legs are tired and players are stressed, you're looking for one chance, maybe two. We created 5 legitimate opportunities in the second overtime period. So one thing we definitely didn't lack was perseverance in that game and in that overtime period. So I was very, very proud of the players for that effort and their discipline to continue to stay the course and try and really get us over the line. So you're going to have nights like that. And then we're going to have nights where we can't miss. So we certainly hope that will be tomorrow night. But if it's 0-0 at half time, we've lived that experience now. If it's 0-0 after 90 minutes tomorrow night, we've lived that experience now, and we'll be better for it as a result of going through that against Loyola.
Coach, the support of the stadium so far has been noticeable for sure, particularly with the student body. And I know that's a priority that you've had to kind of be welcoming to them, since you got here. How do you rate their performance so far? And I know you mentioned you need them again tomorrow night.
Yeah, they've been fantastic. I think with it being a gold rush tomorrow night, with there being a home football game the following day, these types of evenings on a Friday night prior to a home football weekend, you're hoping for a huge crowd. All of the players have commented on, will we get a big crowd? Do you think there'll be a lot of people at the game? And there's a bit of a buzz right now. We were fortunate enough to meet with the chair of the Maniacs yesterday and kind of make sure that we're doing what we can to help facilitate the quality of their experience, that when they come to these games, they're having a ton of fun. So we're very much hopeful that we'll have fans behind the goal tomorrow night and really get them going and hopefully create a little bit of hostility, if I'm honest, towards the opponent goalkeeper and some of the defenders if they'd like to. But yeah, it's been, looking back at the Pittsburgh game and having that interaction with the crowd. And I think that's one of the really special parts about the soccer game specifically and the sport is there does feel like, you guys are right on top of the field and very much close to the action. And there is a little bit more of an interaction between players and crowd in that regard. So I'm sure they've had a good time, those who've come up to this point, and we really want them to come again and to bring a friend and 2 or 3 more. So, we weren't able to hit that attendance record for the Pitt game just yet, but it's looking like it's 75 degrees and sunny on a Friday night. With a big weekend of Mountaineer athletics coming ahead. So we're hoping for a huge crowd and we're going to need it. We're going to need that 12th man again. Ike only mentioned yesterday through some of his media how, that can really energize the players. So they play a role in it. They, without a doubt, they play a role and we're going to need their help tomorrow night, no doubt.
Last one for me, Coach. I know you're probably laser focused on the fixtures ahead, especially with Marshall coming up, but I don't know if you're paying attention to the MAC at all. Everybody in the conference is getting off to a really strong start, it seems like. I mean, even Akron got a little beat on Pitt right after you guys did. So are you paying attention to that at all? And are you looking forward to what's probably going to shape up to be a tough last challenge in the MAC?
Of course. Yeah, we're keeping a very close eye on that. Obviously Akron have had a great start, paid attention to the Pittsburgh result, but they beat Michigan State prior to that, as did Bowling Green recently too. So listen, it's great. I think everyone, quite honestly, feels a little bit hard done by going in from last spring and the way that RPI had us as the toughest conference in the country last spring, and we had one team make the tournament that was our AQ that had to play in the playing game. So I think everyone feels a little slighted, quite honestly, by how things transpired within the NCAA tournament selection. I understand that it was a unique year and a difficult year. So I think just as we want to take that chip on our shoulder and that and have that edge to maybe prove some people wrong, I've no doubt Akron feel the same way, Bowling Green, Western Michigan, all of them, quite honestly. So it's great. It's great that we're in a position right now that, Akron are ranked. I think Bowling Green are receiving votes. The regional rankings, there's those 3 programs in there, but there are plenty others in the conference that will have something to say about that too. So it's no different to last year. I just think that now there's a body of work, or there's been an early body of work from everyone within the conference to kind of flex their muscles in their non-conference schedule, so to speak, to make a little point. So yeah, it's absolutely one game at a time. And again, we just need to feel like we can get through this game and hopefully get through it with a good performance. Obviously a good result following that, and then we need a rest. We need a little bit of time between that and Marshall, and then turn our attention to that next series of games. I think it's a 6-game stretch that we have before we then have another week, and we've kind of tried to target it that way, where we've kind of broke the season, the regular season, into thirds. And we have one more test in the first third of the season here with Ohio State, and then we'll take a little bit of time to try and recover some players before we have a tough test away at Marshall.